Hey guys, today I want to talk about Siren's Reef. There were two parts of the new release, All or Nothing. Obviously you have the story, the new map and whatnot, but there was a Fractal update. This is the third new Fractal in what I would consider a pretty short period of time. And it's a very simple Fractal with not too much crazy lore and cryptic languages to discuss and describe. So I kind of just want to present it to you all. We'll see what we think. I had a lot of fun with it, and it's a nice juxtaposition to be on a nice, happy, tropical pirate island as opposed to the freezing remote climbs of the Thunderhead Peaks. So, yeah, it's a bit of a breath of fresh air. It is related to some old lore in the game as well, which I want to demonstrate to you guys straight away. This Fractal really revolves around an earlier point in a specific pirate captain's life. Captain Wayant. Now, you should recognize that name, but you might not be able to pin down exactly who or where Captain Wayant is from. Well, it's the ghostly pirate that talks to you in the Sharkmoor Caverns jumping puzzle in Lion's Arch. Probably the best, most intricate, well-crafted jumping puzzle from release Guild Wars 2, and that's up against some pretty hot competition too. So as you travel through this, JP, he continuously speaks to him and you follow him as this ghost spirit orb. Well, I want to play you guys all of his dialogue from there to remind you of who he was and what it was all about. I went through and did a full playthrough. I'm just going to play it back to back, and then we'll be back here in the Fractals to play Siren's Reef. And look at how gorgeous this place is.
The most vicious and cunning predator of the seas. Meet that shark, Tumpy. Get him, boy. Go for the reef. You have escaped Tumpy's vicious paw. The last one to do that was me first mate, a lad by the name of Siren. This way, if you want to escape without your fingers and toes. And oh, this ain't right. This ain't the way at all. So remember this dead end. Soon ye may be dead. And at your end. Let's see now. 12 paces north. Because I've been married 12 times. Wait. Was best count? I don't know. 8 paces west. Because Chompy nearly ate me when I first tamed him. Are you laughing? Are your legs tired yet? Oh, look. It's me first mate, Shane. Say hi, Shane. Don't mind it. It's just now we go left here because old Shane had 6 toes on his left foot. Or was it 6 fingers on his right hand? Okay. Right it is. Oh, you're still with me, eh? Not bad, Buttercup. Perhaps you are worthy of Siren and me spoiled. But not be wrong. To survive this path, you must follow the directions exactly. Now, slowly forward. What? Hold the left wall. Good. Now jump. Bet you didn't see that one coming, eh? Let's give me the gruesome. Right through the gizzard. Remember me to rent that. Rufo, now, wait, where are you? Oh, I see. That's Rufo. Your survival is subject to me, Win. Let's see you outsmart the captain. Did you run around? Oh, all right. No need to get your eye patch in a twist. Let there be light. A good captain can sail in the blackest of nights. How about a little moonlight? You've come to the final test. Dead man's drop. Before I trust me to shabby plunder, ye will have to trust me. 2 of these holes lead to instant death, and one will bring ye to me treasure. But how will ye choose? Just remember where ye are, and that will be your test. Ye may have found the treasure, But you'll never escape this chamber to spend it. Hope you brought a deck of cards. Starvation takes the one. How do you escape my clutches? You're one slippery eel, I'll give you that. You weren't entitled. Not like me, Connie. Well, she wasn't exactly entitled. Not like me, person. Now that one can cook. Then she goes sharing up biscuits all around town while I was up at sea. There was me heaven.
Alright, so that was Captain Wayant. Some suggestions in his earlier life, his companions with 6 toes or 6 fingers, many different wives he had. Knowing that Wayant was going to be in this Fractal, I was wondering if we were going to get more information about some of his wives, or the devs would play with it a bit more. It's a cool area of lore for the devs to embellish on, because there's no hysterical, fevered, pitched speculation that's already been going on about his life. He could be anything, really. And so as we load in straight away, you get these big, pristine, wide ocean views. We're on a very remote island. Immediately with the environment, the Fractal's done something super cool that so many Fractals do. That's that you get this big island and sense that it's a real place interior, but because you can't transcribe it directly to a place on the real world map, it somehow feels really immersive to me, and like Tyria is this big realistic place. I cannot say that enough. It's so much value to me when we get Fractals like this, and the Snowblind one is one that makes me feel that very much as well, and Volcanic makes me feel that. So yeah, we're on this big remote island out in the middle of the ocean, and yeah, you can't point to exactly where it is on the world map, but that's kind of a good thing, because it decontextualizes it to such an extent that it feels really immersive. Anyway, what do we have? Well, just to be clear, this is my first ever playthrough where I just made sure that as I went through, I was very, very careful to listen to all the lore and the dialogue and show things off slowly. That's the playthrough we'll be watching here, but I have since done all the other tiers with the new instability system and stuff, and I can talk about how it scales, though you won't see that on the footage. At the very beginning here, you'll see we've got a captain here called Captain Storm, who I don't think we've heard of before, and Cabin Boy Wayant. So he's called Cabin Boy. He's not actually, he is an adult at this point in this story. I know he looks kind of small here next to Captain Storm, but I think he is somewhat of an adult. But yeah, so this is before Wayant actually became a captain, and the general premise of this whole Fractal will be very quickly rushed through in the dialogue in a second, so let me be clear to you all. The premise is that it's a cursed island you cannot leave without also looting the treasure on the island, which sounds like a kind of hilarious pirate tale that would just perpetuate a pirate's desire to go get money, like added incentive to plunder dangerous locations. But this is real, okay? It's an island we genuinely cannot leave without plundering it, and also it's a Fractal, so we get a bit of desert dialogue, so let's see how it goes.
What? You're alive. Captain, look, survivors.
Still alive, huh? Well, if you want to stay that way, hurry and clear these beasties off the beach. And you know what beach this is, don't you? Siren's Reef. Resting place of Arabella Crow, the cursed pirate queen herself. Long as her treasure remains spread across this island, no soul can escape, living or dead. You want off this rock? Find that cursed treasure and commandeer us a ship. Now go. Wayant, with me. I need to rest.
I should go with them. If they find another ship, who's going to sail it? I could help. Captain? Captain!
Wait, did he say Wayant? As in the legendary pirate Wayant? We traded stories about him in Radasua all the time. Pirate tales made a suitably entertaining diversion in the lab. Though, this Wayant doesn't look like a pirate at all.
Okay, so Des is a big fan of Wayant, and she's not going to be a fan of Wayant by the end of the Fractal. There's a couple of cool things that I want to point out immediately. Number one is that this is the lost treasure of Arabella Crow. I feel like I recognize that name Crow, but I can't pin down where, and I don't find anything on the wiki to do with it. But that idea of her being the pirate queen, obviously we have the Hydra queen in contemporary times, or had, Tyda Covington, who stole the Capricorn only to lose it again, ended up on Bloodtide Coast. She fell out with the Captain's Council, of course, and, you know, we have a meta event to actually go take out the Hydra Queen. I wonder whether Arabella Crow is somehow related a bit earlier to that. I love how the second we deal with some pirate stuff, I find myself looking at all the different pirate factions again throughout Guild Wars, and there's a ton of lore about pirates and nautical stuff just because of those early 2012 reliances on Lion's Arch as, you know, a pirate haven. But yeah, it's a beautiful, big-ass, island. Here's the crash ship that we supposedly arrived on. That shark out in the water, I did on one of the times trying to play this, actually try and kill it. If you remember in the Nightmare Tower Fractal, there was an achievement to kill one of the sharks. Well, definitely not on this one. And while we're underwater, we get chewed up by piranhas. So I actually remember wondering about this on the trailer analysis I did. I was curious, like, would we just have a hard current that we can't swim against? How are they going to hold us in fractal bounds? The answer was via piranhas in the water. The truth is there's also actually an invisible wall way out here on the left. You can try and explore, and some of the waters out here, look how gorgeous this is, man, that giant arch. Some of these waters are actually shallow enough that you can walk in them and the piranhas won't hurt you, but there is basically just an invisible wall at the end. I don't know whether that view looks better just because of my reshade there and I have you know, depth blur on, but my god, it is pretty cool. So the very opening of the Fractal with this very cool music is to clear these dinosaurs off the beach. This is kind of your Heart of Thorns influence. It's not actually what I predicted it would be in that it's a, you know, super Heart of Thornsy feeling thing. Obviously, they are borrowing from Heart of Thorns stuff like these bristlebacks and whatnot, but that idea of Morgemoth corrupted landscapes and, you know, maybe Tangled Depths deep style stuff, we still don't have a Fractal to represent that, so I'm still kind of hoping in the future they do such a thing. But yeah, so here I'm just changing my build a little bit because we were just against bristlebacks and I can reflect them with reflection aura, but I wasn't actually sharing it on this version of the build. Also, because we're at a very low scale here, the build that I'm trying, I decided I don't need Earth, because Earth splashes out a ton of protection, but it's really easy at low scale, so I'll just make sure we have very high Fury uptime no matter what anyone else is running. This is just a pug with a couple of friends, and we don't think too hard about it. We just play. You know, when you know how to play the game, it's very casual and comfortable, and I hope to instill upon you all an understanding that fractals really aren't so bad, right? Anyway, so yeah, we kill these guys off the beach. Pretty fun. We go to the next phase where we actually have to explore the island, and we go a little bit deep. You got the pocket raptors around. Here we're just playing with the invisible walls and seeing where you can actually travel, and it's you can't get up over those rocks or anything. So yeah, pocket raptors, probably do want to clear these out. One of the bosses in a second will fear as it dies, kind of. We'll see in a second. And they can, at the higher scales, fear you into pocket raptors, which will then own you, unless, of course, you have a bit of cleanse or a stun break or whatnot. So yeah, first boss to defeat the frenzied dinosaur. Nice battle music. I don't think there's any unique scoring for this, by the way. The music we heard at the start was like... It reminds me of Divinity Original Sin a lot, but I'm pretty sure we heard it in the game somewhere already. Labyrinthine Cliffs music, isn't it? I think that's what it was. We were hearing it in that release early last year. So yeah, you kill this guy, and when he dies, he fears like so.
Getting latent magic readings all over the island. This pirate curse thing might be real. I'm not comfortable saying pirate curse. How about persistent transferable magic? It's better.
And Dessa realizes that maybe the curse is real. We have a mini mission here, a mini moment where the game is teaching us how the cannon works. So that cannon is used to clear mines that have been established here by who? I don't know really. Maybe some of the other pirates at another point. And so one of us now knows how that works, and that's kind of identifying that mechanic for you for this encounter here, which is kind of, you know, the big boss we fought a second ago, the Stonehead. He's not really he gets a little bit tankier as the scales go up, but aside from that, I can't see anything really that interesting about that fight. It's very much like killing something in the open world. But this region here is a full-on encounter. The idea is we're going to have to kill there's ghosts, right? So there clearly is a curse going on, and there clearly are dead, long-lost pirates trying to defend something here. There's going to be a skeleton, I think it is, that will spawn in the middle as our first boss, and basically mines spawn everywhere, so someone has to stay up on this ledge on a cannon slightly off on the screen on the right.
That skeleton's being animated by persistent transferable. Oh, pirate curse it is. That skeleton's being animated by a pirate curse.
Okay, and so I'm the hero. I'm the hero? I'm the healer. I am also the hero. I'm the healer. So I decide to get on this. They're basically just world versus world looking skills. At first, I'm trying to DPS the boss with them. But I realized that what we'd learned a second ago, we said this in comms, is that you should probably break the mines with them. So I'm just trying to clear them out. I think realistically, in the end, the best way to do this is everyone will just be balled right where the skeleton spawns, and you just blow him up really quickly. And the guy on the cannon only clears mines that are right next to the boss. I actually think this boss is a little bit too squishy. In none of my runs through, which are very lazy, casual runs, even on T4 and stuff, this guy didn't really... He didn't take long enough to learn his mechanics, right? Essentially, is what I'm saying. You notice he does give himself stability. And that's not to do with an instab or anything. I think maybe even some of the ghosts nearby might be doing that for him. And that does become relevant. We were trying to interrupt some key skill of his or break his break bar, and he had stability last night in one of the highest scales. So that was kind of cool to see. But yeah, I just stay up here, kill these. The person on the cannon can take pressure. So you want them to be able to resustain a bit.
I'm keeping an eye on Wayant and the captain on the second display here.
Wayant was trying to find medicinal fruit for the captain, but he came back with poison baneberries instead. A common misidentification, but his behavior is very different from what contemporary records suggest.
So, I like the thought. It's really weird to think about Dessa in these moments, actually having multiple monitors to watch. But she's looking back at the boat, and she's beginning to become disillusioned with this famous pirate. Like, we love famous pirates, right? And yet, they're really not people we should love. And I think what this Fractal is doing is kind of expressing that these are nasty, cruel people that if you actually had the chance to look at up close, you wouldn't like very much. Anyway, so here I'm looking at the world map because people have noted that it's a skull. The Siren's Reef is a skull island, right? So where we spawned, that would be here. This is an eye, this is an eye, this would be the mouth. When I was first trying to interpret this, I thought it was like a skull in profile or something. And, you know, this would be like where the spine connects to the back or whatever. But yeah, I think it's, you know, it's looking at us head on with its two eyes. So yeah, and we're just gonna generally travel from one side of the island to the other. Collecting our chest and moving on. That was just a regular champ bag. I don't have auto loot on. Here we get another little sequence. It's a pretty short road, you'll see here, and there's pocket raptors in it. I wonder if at some point in the development of this was a longer sequence. Like, you see the North Beach up here? They could have easily had a section of content up here. But there's a really weird thing with Fractals that you can kind of feel last year and maybe a little bit earlier that you can kind of feel the devs were struggling with a bit, or butting heads with at least. And that's that they probably get really excited about the environment they've made and the stuff that they can do in it. But you can't make a fractal too long. If a fractal is too long, people will complain. And that's not necessarily that they just all want loot, blah, 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 blah. But it's about consistency. All the fractals need to feel about the same rough playtime so that when Siren's Reef comes up every day, when it's, you know, in the rotation for your dailies, you don't feel annoyed because it's a really long one, as we had with, like, the dredge facility and stuff for so long. So you can't make a fractal too long. And I wonder, you know, this now just feels like a bit awkward. It doesn't teach us a new mechanic. It's just, oh, go from point A to B. And they're usually a little bit more creative about a moment like this. There is the mouth of the room in front of us opening up, however.
Picking up 3 separate core signatures in that cave. Magical artifacts tied to the curse. Find a way to bring them with you.
Remember, the whole idea, we got to get the treasure to get away. And we're going to find now that there's 3 separate piles of treasure linked to the curse. This room's really cool. You'll notice that the Mistlock Singularity I just picked up, it was coloured weirdly as well, like in orange. I think the lighting in this map might be a bit weird. And also, just a second ago when you saw it, I turned around. You'll notice the time of day is changing. I did actually guess that as the fractal went along, the sun would set. It's actually what's going on here. All right, so let's go on in and we'll talk about the mechanics here. This is my first time ever, so don't judge me too much. This is like the labyrinthy room.
Those bags of treasure are rigged with movement inhibitors, probably to stop thieves from running off with the treasure. And the longer you hold it, the more powerful the effect.
Let's test something. What if you tried sharing the pirate curse with all of your friends? Don't worry, the science is on your side. I took a
Correspondence course on hexes, spells, and maledictions.
That line about hexes, spells, and maledictions was weird to hear. It made me think that they were referencing, like, game mechanics across both games, and then maledictions came up, and that's never been a mechanic, and then I was thinking, oh, will that be an elite specialization mechanic? Right. So basically, here's the deal. Dessa's really wordy about it here. These eyeballs, these floating orbs in the area, if one of them catches us, as you just saw there, they spawn mobs. As the scales of the fractal goes up, those mobs become more numerous. Like you get 3 spawns at a time or whatever. And the mobs are only there really to harass you. It's actually not that punishing to trigger one of these. There's an achievement, which is at max level in T4, do this whole bit without triggering a single one of these traps. And you have to do some clever stuff with blinking and perhaps portals and stuff. I don't know. I don't actually have that achievement just yet. So the whole team has to basically avoid those. If you're bad at the stealthy bit, you're just going to consistently be fighting and fighting and fighting. And in the higher scales, and I'd guess under certain instability combinations as well, that could be really frustrating. So you've got that to think about. But then there's also the main objective. So you'll see I'm holding a pile of treasure right now. The whole point is, the longer you hold the treasure, the more cursed you become. And the slower you move, and the slower you move, you get this thing, the Curse of Frailty. And you see I can hardly move now. Dodging does make you bypass the movement penalty to a large degree. So you can, like, double dodge with them. But we're kind of playing keg brawl here. And I love this because that's such a cool mechanic, right? Where you'll see, if I use my skill 1, I can throw it to my ally, who gets a really good ground indication of when the thing is landing, and he can catch it and pick it up. Then I have to wait 20 seconds for my curse to go away, and you can kind of trade. That's what Dessa meant by, you know, sharing the curse with our friends. Where you got to find the 3 different piles of treasure in this tomb, and put them all into this big chest at the end. Gather them all together.
Looks like that door will only open for Arabelle through.
I'll run a quick announcement. Okay, you'll need to combine all the core signatures in that cave.
Sorry, I mean the pieces of cursed treasure.
That should be enough curse magic in one place to fool the door into thinking you're one of Crow's pirates.
Okay, and so then the island will let us leave.
Still watching
Wayans and the captain. Things are looking grim.
everything the record told us about Wayans becoming
A pirate captain was... He was supposed to be a hero.
poisoning someone who trusts.
Trust you is something a pirate would do.
Well,
Thank you, Fractals,
for retroactively ruining my childhood. Anyway,
let's get that door open.
So, yeah, we now hear that Wayne has poisoned his captain. It's kind of interesting how they're trying to tell a story that's happening off screen here, and they do it pretty well. Back to the mechanics, though, the realization that you move slow but dodges help kind of made me realize that super speed might be good. And you might even see I do it right here in this T1. It was either T1 or T2 I tried it out. But basically, yeah, if you pop super speed, you can charge around. I think that's got some really cool implications for different builds and things you can run in here, and made me feel even a little bit more useful on that kind of classic Tempest Fractal carry that I still believe in very, very, very much, just because of its variety of Boon Splash in particular. So yeah, we're just going to get this last little bit of pirate treasure through the cave. Oh, here you go. Here, I'm trying super speed, so you'll see I've got that ally there. And when I pop it on him after he's dodged... oh, I do it a bit late there, but it does work.
Don't forget the treasure.
you'll need that.
And we're out into the next room.
That's Arabella's ship, the Kraken's Pride.
Still seaworthy, too. I'm detecting 2 other pieces of treasure nearby. Need all of them on that ship before you can sail away. Oh, wait. None of you actually knows how to sail a ship.
That could be a problem.
We'll cross that bridge later.
So, it's 5 members of the party. 5 pieces of treasure we need to find. That's a cool name for a ship, by the way. The Kraken's Pride. We've never really met a Kraken. Well, we kind of have. Let's not get into Kraken lore and what we consider the Jade Moor and stuff to be, shall we? But yeah, so you got the ship in the middle. I don't know whether swimming with the treasure is a good idea here, because you move very slow and the piranhas will probably eat you. So you got to find a way to board the ship. On our first time through ever, we go a really long and slow way around here on the left. I've just noticed, though, that you can go along the shallows on the right. I love these, like, straights through the water that are still a little bit underwater, but not fully. And basically, we just have to board the Arabella's crow's ship to flee. So yeah, we run through here. You can be extremely efficient with the treasure movement. You'll notice how slowly we're all going. By the time we were at T3 or 4, we realized that the #1 fastest way to do this, by far, is just to throw it. You just throw and throw and throw and play hot potato with it, and you can be done with this whole sequence in a matter of seconds. It feels really fun. It's that kind of cooperative gameplay that I really enjoy, and interactions between allies that I think Guild Wars 2 should do as much of as possible, just to prove to people that a sort of a gimmicky, faked version of cooperation and interaction, like the Trinity, isn't necessary, right? Because it does feel very good to throw these around. In fact, I wish the Fractal had played with it just a little bit more, even, perhaps. So yeah, we're going to load the treasure onto the ship. We'll pick this up, place it on the platform, and now we're in kind of the final boss sequence.
Major spike in spectral activity. Ghosts know you're trying to steal Crow's treasure. They're coming from all over the island. Hurry! Fire those swivel-mounted high-caliber spectral artillery! Never mind, we'll just call them ghost cannons. Fire the ghost cannons!
I love the way she voices that there. Okay, so this final sequence will go very quickly on T1, but on the later tiers, it's really genuinely interesting. What I'm doing right now, you can dedicate 2 players to cannons.
Treasure on the beach. Hurry! Get back to the ship. Those ghosts do not look happy.
We're dedicating 2 players to cannons, and the other 3 are going to go get some more treasure there, and they're supposed to throw it to each other and throw it to each other and bring it back to ship. Again, this only takes a couple of seconds, but the point is that these ghosts really mass and hoard up, and if you play this mechanic poorly, they will swarm you, especially on the later tiers. It's actually hilarious. Siren's Reef is really forgiving, though, in terms of checkpoints. So when we did this on T4, we were 4-manning it, and there were moments where the waves of ghosts that were coming in was just obscene. But, you know, you can kind of grind through, and then it's almost graveyard rush. You know, the devs are very forgiving and nice about that, really, here. Here I'm standing hoping that this guy from LFG would throw the treasure to me, but I don't think he's realized he has a skill or something. He was just standing there with the curse. And as you notice there, he did just drop it. You can just drop the thing for other people to pick up. You don't have to throw it to pass it around. It's just better. So you bring some treasure in, and you get a boss. So this is the first guy. This is Mad Jack Squall. Again, I don't really recognize any references to prior lore, if that's what you're seeking here, guys. I couldn't even really tell you too much of what he does. The flavor text says chills, dazes, and enhances allies. And obviously, you do get other ghosts coming around. But really, we just kind of grind through the poor guy. I just try and make sure that I've got lots of might on people.
One more to go. Also, I wouldn't wait up for Captain Strong. Wayne's finished his little coup and he's on his way over. Oh! Didn't he say he could sail a ship? That's your ticket off this island. Assuming you survive until he gets there.
Ah, so here we see Wayne, and this is a weird thing they're doing in lore. You can see the story that's coming up. Wayne's going to get off this island by commandeering this ship, because we kind of clear the ship for him. So the real Tyrion version of this, I wonder who actually helped him get the ship, you know. I do think that this is actually what happened in his life, though. That he basically betrayed his captain out on a voyage at some point, and he's the one who came home with a big-ass ship. So anyway, yeah, we... And of course, we only get to see him when he's an old man, dead in Lion's Arch. So there's this whole life that maybe we could see through other fractals at some point. So we do a repeat, but on the other shore now with the other treasure chest. Come up and grab this. There's a lot of culling issues on patch day here, by the way. And so you can see one of them here right now. The next boss is First Mate Calyx. And I can't see what he looks like. Every single time I tried playing this fractal, his model was not visible. This was happening when Deepstone came out as well. It must be some artifice of some new way that the devs are doing things. Okay, so here I've got a mechanic that I'm failing because I'm not paying attention. It's T1 and I'm basically playing brain dead, right? So you see the outside of my screen. It looks like I'm blind, but it's a different kind of colored effect. We get this in raids, obviously. Really good visual indicator. I can't ask for more. Basically, I have a mechanic attached to me right now, and I'm going to drop a giant AoE at my feet. And I haven't realized that's going on. So I think I realized right at the end here, just at the last second, and I've pulled away slightly. So you see this AoE I've dropped here? That does damage, and I think it pulses, yeah, here, it pulses blinds. It's cool to see the devs use this instead of for like a one-shot thing. It's more of like an attrition thing. And by the way, conditions are a big part of this. I actually ran a cleanse variant of a support when I did this on T4 because so much stuff applies con depression, so many mechanics are revolving around that, and I like seeing that in a fractal too, frankly. But yeah, I don't actually know what this guy looks like. I just know that he summons Grim Lagoons, which is what you saw me place on the team there, and he has quickness on him. Maybe he got that from other ghosts. A bit of Boon Rip might have been kind of nice on that.
I'm seeing a massive spectral energy spike. Every pirate on that island's coming for you.
Okay, so we've got all 5 treasure now. 3 from the cave, 2 from the 2 shores here. It's done, but the ghosts are pissed. So here's the final phase. This is where the ghosts can really swarm you. Both beaches are filling with ghosts right now to absurd levels. Not so much on T1. And there's 4 cannons now. Both halves of the ship have the cannons. You know, in one phase it was only these, and then in another phase it was only these. There's now all 4 cannons up at once. You get 5 players in a party, right? So I think really what you want is your DPS on the cannons and like the support in the middle. because the ghost will fire back at the cannons, right? Your support can keep people alive. I don't know whether might stacking people on cannons increases their damage. I really hope it does, but we've seen in other areas of the game that obviously that's not really a thing. But what we're going to do is fire all 4 cannons at both beaches to keep the hordes at bay. This really was an interesting part of the fight at all until T4. And on T4, it was awesome. It was so cool. So you see, most of my team isn't even on cannons yet. We haven't even seen that that's the mechanic that's going on. You could not get away with being so slow and lazy about this on T4. So yeah, you just got the cannons, and we're gonna defend the ship. I really recommend you guys try and work your way up, progress through the fractals to try the last bit here, because this is really fun. And if you lose, it's not really too hard feelings, honestly, because you kind of just respawn at that moment. Here I decide to start shooting. The skill 2 is really weird in that it spreads out a lot. And here we're firing so far away that I can't even see if I'm hurting them. I don't know whether at T1 it's just straight up bugged and they decide not to run in and when they should be. But hey, so anyway, yeah, I get off and I just try and heal a little bit. And the idea here is we got to just clean as many ghosts out as possible to save the ship. I actually can't imagine a world in which the ship is a territory, like a conquest node right now. I can't imagine a world in which this flips before you wipe, honestly. But, I mean, it's coded there to be possible. So yeah, we just clear the ghost down and we'll have a final boss, and that's the end of Siren's Reef. So let's see what it's like.
Oh no, it's her. It's Arabella Crow.
What's this? Stealing my treasure? And my ship? The moment you washed up on the beach, you joined my crew. And your first act is to stage a mutiny? This insult will not stand. You will obey your captain.
Remember I said we'd figure out the nobody knows how to sail a ship thing later? Well, it's later. We were swaying.
Okay, so, yeah, I drop a mechanic on the group, a bit silly. So, Wayan is going to sail this ship away for us. I love how she says, bring forth the Tempest. So, you get her 33% of her health down, and there's kind of like a mini phase here. And she's dying so quick that we're getting through the dialogue quite quickly as well here. But so, basically, she has a mechanic. You see these orange lines here. Massive gusts of wind will blow across the stern of the ship, the deck, right? And what they'll do is, if you're caught in them, they'll push you into the water. So, you remember that piranha mechanic? And how at the start it just seemed like it was kind of a tacky thing. Well, not tacky, just it was a tool to keep people away from the invisible walls, right? And that was it. Well, the devs actually play with it a lot. There's been all kinds of chances to dip into these waters as we've been playing now. And now they're actually going to force you off the boat and into the depths where the piranhas will finish you off. Remember I said there's a lot of condi pressure here? Well, yeah, if you get, you can kind of think of the piranhas as another damage over time that would continue hurting you. As the scales go, there you go. So I didn't actually think there would be an example of the wind. So that's where I learned what that is. As the scales go up, more and more winds start appearing. And most of this engagement is dodging winds, like constantly. You can't block. I don't think you can stability. I think I tried stab. You definitely can't evade them. You just have to walk away from them. And yeah, we got to kill the captain, who is unfortunately culled out. Here's another thing, okay, so we have the, what were they called? The Curse Lagoons? Well, here's another mechanic like the Curse Lagoon, except this one's green. So the idea here is this target, Arabella Crow, is summoning a shark on this guy. And the shark, I don't know about low scales, but certainly higher. The shark's like a one-shot mechanic that will just kill you. So what you need to do, and raiders will have been familiar with this mechanic in the past, what you need to do is stand with allies so that it might spread the damage out to everyone in the area. Or it might just be a literal thing of, oh, if you're standing with allies, the shark can't hurt you. So if you watch very closely, when this ends on this player, this shark, the shark finisher, that is, that's been copied there, and I think that's perfectly cool and fine. So yeah, at the high scales, that's what you're dealing with. Curse Lagoons, winds. So the Curse Lagoons drop areas you can't kite away from the winds on, and then you got to get together with the sharks. Overall, it's a pretty small platform. And they keep the mechanics pretty basic. This is nowhere near as chaotic as Shattered Observatory and stuff, as you saw when I covered those releases. So here's a cool combo. That guy has the shark, and he just got blown off at the same time. So now he's going to get hit by the full force of the shark in the water. Except that we just finished the Fractal. So there you go. That's how it goes. It's a really fun one. Nice, short, compact. I enjoyed it. There's obviously the whole new layer of instabilities and things that maybe we can talk about in an upcoming production. Here's the final lore as we escape from the island with the treasure.
Oh, look, he's here.
Nice work with the treasure. I regret to report that Captain Strom won't be joining us.
Because you murdered him?
But with his last words, he bestowed the captaincy and crew on me.
Well, that's one way to describe it, I guess.
So what are you waiting for? Full sails into the horizon. Captain Wayant won't stand for stragglers.
That did it! The latent magic over the island is gone! Looks like the curse is broken and the
Fractal is stabilized. As for Wayant, I'm thinking his records
are about due for an update.
I would get so thrilled with a new Fractal, especially after I've just come off of a main release. It's like a cool, like, calm down at the end of, you know, so much other stuff that you're thinking about. I actually, like, found myself rubbing my hands together, thinking, like, feeling like I was about to watch an episode of a TV show or something as I started playing this. As far as everything I can see from it, first impressions, this is something I'd be perfectly happy to play through on rotations if I get into the habit of doing my Fractal dailies consistently again. And, yeah, seeing how this would work with the slippery floors and whatnot seems fun. The day I did it, also, we had the bird mechanic, so on that boat, you had birds attacking everyone, and then, you know, you had to dodge to get rid of them and turn into ravens and whatnot. Very cool. I hope you guys enjoyed my impressions of it. It's nice to get a little bit of an expansion on Captain Wayant from Lion's Arch. Thanks for watching, and I will see you for more coverage of the current release and good stuff very soon.